So you've mentioned you like large speakers. Is that because you like to have a large, realistic sound, like you're at a symphony orchestra, or
well,
why?
Harry Pearson actually taught me how to appreciate a soundstage, because he talked in words about a soundstage that had front to back depth. The sound went out beyond the confines of the speakers. The sound was higher than the speakers, lower than the speakers, and it was immersive. And I had never heard about that before. I mean, I really hadn't. When I listened to a stereo, I thought, okay, well, there's a couple of speakers here, you know, and here's some sound. But he really developed a language that taught us all.
He did. He taught us about the spatial effects of
right.
reproduced sound that we didn't really understand. We had our speakers in the corner or by side. They were used as coffee tables. It was a
That's right.
changing
Today
time.
we take it for granted, but
Right.
back then it was brand new and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started developing a system like that, I had to understand how it worked, why we heard the front to back depth, why we heard imaging.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry didn't know, but he knew what he heard, and he was able to describe it in words. So I started building amplifiers and speakers to give that kind of a soundstage and that kind of a sound, where there's a large acoustic, and within that large acoustic, we can hear pinpoint imaging.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like the big speakers. Not necessarily big, but able to produce a big sound.
Understood.
Soundscape, yeah.
I understand completely. Bob, you've created some of the world's most interesting audio products. You had the amazing loudspeaker. You've had the Cube subwoofer. What are your top 5 products that you've designed and brought to market?
My top 5,
Yeah.
I would say would be the original Phase 700.
Okay.
Okay, that used the first high voltage devices that were available and had a high voltage power supply, which made it possible.
Mm-hmm.
That hadn't been done before.
Mm-hmm.
Crown had come close with the 150 watts.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there was that. Then there was the Cube.
Mm-hmm.
The Cube, which was a 400 watt amplifier, 200 watts per channel. That was an amplifier that had a different shape and a different touch and feel, and it got me attention. And I needed attention to start Carver Corporation after Phase Linear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I made the Cube. Then I made the amazing loudspeaker, which was a panel speaker, and that was interesting because it had a lot of bass, even though the speakers were dipoles. And the way that worked is they had very small magnets, so they had a big rising response that counteracted the falling cabinet response, resulting in a nice flat response down to a low frequency. And nobody thought of doing that before. They always had big equalizers and big woofers with big magnets. So that's how the Amazings worked. And then of course it had a ribbon, very similar to these ribbons here.
Yeah, we're looking today at the new speakers.
And so that's 3, right? You wanted. Okay. Then there was the subwoofer.
Yeah, that was
very
popular.
That was only this big and had as much bass as a big coffee table subwoofer. So that was cool. And what else? Oh, I have to say my cinema ribbons. Those, I'm very proud of those. I can't believe how many years I worked on those things. I've got graphs that I was making that go back 7 years. I hate to say it, more than that even. But I worked on those for a long, long time. They were to be a small speaker with lots of output, high, large signal transducer, in spite of its diminutive size. And it could play really loud, especially I had 2 of them. It could play super loud with lots of cleanliness.
Now, what was the greatest product you've ever designed?
Wow, that's hard.
Quick.
Okay, the one that I sold more of than anything else in dollar volume and unit volume was the sonic hologram generator. And I would say that my favorite design is the autocorrelator. It was an open-ended noise reduction system, and also the subwoofer.
Yeah, that
the
was
first high-pressure, high-back EMF subwoofer of all time.